they'll go to a doctor who looks like this and then tells them they're going to die and basically have explosive diarrhea, God knows what. Testosterone's going to kill you. But you could have all these other medications where you're running in the fields, galloping, looking really happy, where the side effects are, you know, coma, anal leakage, death, all that stuff. But you're gonna die happy in a bed of flowers, galloping through a field. I'm gonna talk you guys through the way that I coach guys, which I call GPP for TRT, which is general physical preparation, for men who are maybe in an inflammatory state with a little bit too much body fat, or who have tried to get really shreddy, but they do it the wrong way and they just want to hop on testosterone thinking that's going to solve all their hopes and dreams. They wish. A little background as to why I have a silverback gorilla as my logo. The eggplant emoji, which is typical for being used to describe dudes, or the penis emoji, I thought was really unfair to men because it's kind of boring and it's really not sexy. So as a female, when I see two eggplants fighting, I'm like, yeah, that's not like doing it for me. So I thought, you know what, that's a really poor representation of what you guys are all about. So I figured two silverback gorillas, despite the hair, maybe you want that, I don't know. Some people do. Is a little bit more of something to aspire to look like, especially in the gym, having the V taper. They have massive glutes. If you go over to Animal Kingdom over at Disney and you see the gorillas, you're gonna be like, yo, they do like a ton of lunges and hip thrusts and all that stuff. So that's why I named our friend Rick the silverback attorney, because he has that V taper. If you've ever stood next to him, it's not cool to take photos with him. So we had a little flex off together when we did a podcast way back in the spring. Just some background on who I am. I don't love talking about myself, but this is why you should consider listening to me. I've been doing this for 20 years and I coach primarily men. I have a team of 3 coaches and we focus on getting guys who want to be shreddy a little bit shreddier, and then helping dudes who want to lose some body fat lower their body fat and get in a very resilient, healthy state to be able to take on hormone replacement, should that be the appropriate decision. And low T is such a devastating thing for men's health. I have taken it upon myself to make my work something to promote moving men's health forward, because with women go on hormone replacement and no one bats an eye. A guy's like, oh, I want to go on TRT, and everyone says he's cheating, he's on steroids, he's going to die, it's going to do all these bad things to him. So being a female, speaking on the side for males, I find it extremely rewarding to help guys become aware that this is something that is actually quite common, even though it's not necessarily normal. So how did we get here as a society from a very low health standpoint? I don't know if you were born in the 80s like me, but if you guys remember this, having to reach over and unroll the window, roll down, whatever the word is, that was a physical thing that we had to do. It was a lot of work, right? Same thing with the 80s TVs. So it had like 13 channels. You had to get up from the couch, go over to the TV, change the channel physically, maybe hit it, maybe blow in the cartridge for Nintendo. Best game ever. If you guys ever played Punch-Out, right? 80s babies. Andrew? Oh, yeah. Yeah. You guys have this in Canada? You have Wi-Fi? Yeah. He's awesome. You actually had to walk around the other side of the car to unlock it. So there was 2 keys. Kids these days have no idea, even, you know, with phones and stuff like that. And we had to actually physically stalk our crushes. We couldn't do it from Facebook. We couldn't sit in the bushes and stare at them getting undressed, unless that was just me. I'm kind of a perv. You guys will find this out. I'm really open about that. And then this antique or what hangs now in the museums, basically, if you've ever seen videos of kids trying to work a rotary phone, it's really funny. Like, they have no idea that we actually picked up a phone and this symbol means like talking on the phone, because they're so used to doing FaceTime and stuff like that. So it's funny to explain all of this, and you're like, where the hell is Ali going with this? We don't have to move anymore. We can literally lie on the couch, hit any app that we want, and have everything delivered to us. Food, alcohol, underwear, a wife, you name it, it will land on your doorstep. The whole point of this being we don't have to move like we did decades ago. So people are more and more sedentary. If you go to Orlando Airport or Disney World, you will see tons of shapes that you have never seen before. And there's a reason for that, and it's because we don't have to move like we used to. So being sedentary obviously is very poor for health and very poor for testosterone. And that's where coaching comes in. And coaching is very much like dating. And very nicely, my friend Dave loaned me his baby photo because he used to be that child. You want to get to know your client, and I have to get to know and relate to guys. I'm a female. How do I relate to my guys? Well, I'm very much a tomboy. I like cars. I like sports. I like lifting. I'm a meathead. We couldn't be in a more fitting place. So being able to relate to the client is huge, to understand that I get what you guys are going through, even though I am not a man who is experiencing low T symptoms. So I find that there's 4 things that guys want when they come to me for coaching. Number 1, they want to look good naked, not get arrested by doing this in the gym, hopefully. But you want to be confident enough when you're naked to be able to blow dry your balls this way, not necessarily with the hair dryer, with your foot like this. I know you still do that, George, in the locker room. So pooping efficiently also, huge, right? Kind of a big problem when you have no toilet paper. But again, I digress. I love these slides because photoshopping Olympic divers onto toilets has never been more brilliant in my life. Google did that. I didn't do that. Can't take credit for that. And basically, if they wake up with their stiffest thing on their body being their back, fucked up that joke, that could be a problem as well. They want to have raging boners in the morning. So when that goes away, a guy usually thinks, what is wrong with me? So not every guy says, hi, Ali, I want to coach with you. I need a raging boner, really efficient bowel movements, and I want to blow dry my balls effectively with the hand dryer on the wall. That's not necessarily in their intake form, but that's how I relate to them. I use humor to deflect the awkward nature of very sensitive conversations. It's borderline offensive sometimes, but it's okay. I've only been kicked off social media twice, so we're good so far. So how is low T diagnosed? Typically in America, most dudes associate, well, my dick still works, so I must have great testosterone. No matter how much body fat they have, or if they're fit, stuff like that, that's what men associate testosterone with. So we have to have that discussion. Well, there's all these other symptoms that most men don't realize, such as the cognitive aspect, when mental clarity starts to go, or motivation, or just that whole apathy and their whole attitude. And all of a sudden they think I have no motivation for work or family or anything. What is wrong with me? And then they usually go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you're 200, you're normal. You're 350, you're normal. We know how this goes. We know that the range has also been lowered multiple times. And they feel dismissed. And many men, it takes a lot for them to actually go to a doctor. So for them to go to a doctor and then be dismissed, they're not going to resist because they're like, I'm over this. I was told I'm normal. I'm in range. And so then they get handed pills and basically it's a problem. So we know primary and secondary hypogonadism. So if you don't, this is how it's diagnosed. But basically with primary, the balls have died. So there's no coming back from that. Same with secondary, it's very much a brain thing. And this is what a lot of guys deal with and they don't realize. Stress is something that is a huge impact on things like sex drive and testosterone and all of that. And the analogy I use with a lot of my guys, because they lift weights, I tell them, picture yourself in the gym and you're trying to max out on your squat. Front squat, back squat, I don't care. You're coming out of the hole, you're shaking, you're turning purple, you might shit your pants, you're literally trying to get that rep up, and then all of a sudden, your love interest walks in front of you and is like, yo, let's go. To shift gears like that quickly, pop a boner when you're like mid-rep, kind of difficult. That's the same effect that your body is feeling when you're under stress, and your body's not going to say, cool, we're going to go procreate right now because that's really easy to do. So stress has a massive impact on men's testosterone levels, and that's usually in a lot of the younger guys too. When I say younger, I say lower than 50, because men still think, well, I'm under 50, I shouldn't be dealing with this. And obviously we see it a lot in guys who are dealing with it in their 20s nowadays. And so they'll go to a doctor who looks like this and then tells them they're going to die and basically have explosive diarrhea, God knows what. Testosterone's going to kill you. But you could have all these other medications where you're running in the fields, galloping, looking really happy, where the side effects are, coma, anal leakage, death, all that stuff. But you're going to die happy in a bed of flowers, galloping through a field. We've all seen those commercials and why they happen. And then they hand guys pills and say, well, just take this. This is going to help you. And we know it doesn't. They feel worse. It doesn't rectify the problem. And we need more doctors like this guy, Eric Serrano. He's my doctor. Brilliant dude. He's not here. But anyway, so the current state of men's health and what we are up against is a lot of guys are dealing with sperm production lowering, which has been a quite large amount. If you guys have not read Countdown yet, great book by Dr. Shanna Swan. She ran a landmark study on sperm production and how it's decreased so much worldwide. It's actually kind of scary. And how testosterone's declined pretty much 1% per year for the last 40 years. And ED affecting 30 million men, going to affect way more in the future. And this is also something that I discuss a lot in my DMs on Instagram. That's where I do most of my content and stuff like that. Men who are dealing with erectile dysfunction who don't feel like they should be, which they shouldn't, but because of their age and because of the amount of stress and their poor health, they're experiencing things like erectile dysfunction. And this whole toxic masculinity thing that we have here in the US, that it's just a whole nother topic for another day. I hate it. It's annoying. But dudes are like, can I compliment Ali on her jacket, or is she going to call me a misogynist and then run away? That's what guys deal with. Like, oh, you're creepy if you tell me that this pink jacket that cost $20 from Shein, by the way, really hot. You like it, I could get offended by that, and then you are rejected, and that's not really cool. I don't want to reject anybody. And heart disease is probably the #1 killer, and that is highly correlated with erectile dysfunction. So when something like that is happening to a guy, he really wants to get things checked out. Blood work would be the first start. And a lot of men don't have somebody to talk to. So if you talk to any of the guys who are an entrepreneur, or they're in the work from home business, or even if they're at a high level executively, they don't have a lot of people to talk to about that. They feel very isolated. So those relationships are also collectively lowering testosterone because they don't feel that bond that they have, or that people used to have before social media and things that would distract us from all of that. And the prevalence of low T in younger guys is showing up a lot more in that mid-20s age bracket. So that's something to be considerate. So can we increase testosterone naturally? This is what everybody asks us. I want to try it naturally before I go on TRT. Absolutely, that is warranted. You should do everything you can to exhaust it. There are things like this guy thinks that herbs can do it. We've seen those commercials, Frank Thomas, right? It's like $80 for a collection of herbs that'll cost like $5 each or whatever at one of the supplement shops. Sunning your balls, probably not going to get you to super physiological levels. So that was me at my cardiologist's office. He has this massive red light lamp in St. Louis, Dr. Twyman, and I sunned my balls through my pants, but it didn't do anything for my T levels. And then endocrine disruptors. So this is probably one of the most accurate things I've seen on the internet. And most guys, like, yeah, you're nodding, so you agree with me, how you guys shower, right? So what you put on your body matters as well. So products that don't have parabens and phthalates and bad things like that, consider maybe I should switch to something not toxic. It's a great action step to take. So bath products that are shower gels, shampoos, stuff like that. That would be #1. #2, if you guys are using plastic Tupperware or anything and heating food up in that, switch to glass. Start there. So men do very well with structure and instructions. So if I give you 2 things to focus on, it's a lot easier than 15 things like you'll hear on many podcasts where you have to basically strip your Wi-Fi in your entire house, live in the dirt, and then sleep in a bubble and stuff like that. So how do we engineer a very resilient, healthy, jacked guy, which is what I do in my coaching business. So I just like this photo, Dave, so I had to put it in there again. With guys, this is what they will ask for. So you guys think that women are nuts when we talk about the scale and everything. This is an exact quote from a client that he wanted this. This client looks like this. How does this, like, basically he's like, I want more tapered waist. Okay, we did that. Well, I want to still be jacked but lean but vascular, but what the fuck? Like literally, okay, sure. But women are nuts, right? And this is usually the body dysmorphia that occurs in guys is they think, oh, I'm going to get more chicks when I look more jacked. You're going to get more dudes. You're going to get more dudes in the gym asking how you look the way you look and how you got there and what they have to do and stuff like that. And that's where my company, Silverback Coaching, comes into play. And we have many rules. These are some of my rules. I do not allow gloves, toe shoes, and you have to call it a shake. If you call it a smoothie, I'm going to send you to the yoga studio and tell you you're going to be a vegan. Hope there's no vegans in here. It's just the thing that I have. People like antagonize me on social media with that. So the typical man plan when they go into the gym and work out is they all go to the bench. No matter how fucked up their shoulders are, they're going to bench press. With guys, I'm like, can we please do something other than flat bench? Incline bench is hard. They don't want to do it. If you actually bench at other angles, it makes your flat bench a lot stronger. So getting that across is very huge. So they'll go in the gym, they'll bench press, they'll talk to each other, they'll do a few more sets, maybe get through a few exercises, then they'll recover really fucking hard from the couple exercises that they did. And let me tell you, in America at least, I have not seen such an increase in recovery tools with a massive decrease in training intensity. It's crazy. I'm like, what are we recovering from now? Where all of a sudden we have to sit in the ice baths and literally live in Normatec boots and then use a Theragun all over our entire body just to walk to the toilet. It's a problem. And then they go through their cycle of dirty bulking and clean bulking and not bulking and shredding. And there's guys that diet just to come to the Olympia, just to walk around. But the cycle that most men go through is what I was describing before. They want to stay jacked but yoked, but all of that stuff. When guys get leaner, they feel skinny fat. So then they feel too small. So then they dirty bulk to gain weight, but then they gain too much body fat. So then they have to crash diet and end up where they were again, where you have to strategically add food, match it to the training. Over time, they will look a certain way. So something I can dive into another day. But I thought this was actually funny because this is body dysmorphia in a nutshell in the fitness industry. So a lot of us think that we're all morbidly obese and dying. I have those days as well. And guys don't want to do cardio. So when it comes to GPP for TRT, the biggest thing that I implement right away is aerobic fitness. Because men don't like it, they don't want to do it, they don't have a very good level of conditioning because they think their muscles are going to fall off. Guys, I don't do cardio because I don't want to look small, all of that stuff. Probably the biggest mistake ever. Does not mean you're going to go do endurance events and run marathons and then all of that stuff. Ultra endurance events, yeah, you might lose some muscle, you might lower your testosterone. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting a very low level intensity platform of good aerobic fitness so that you can recover a lot better in between sets, but in between training. Eat more because your body is actually able to create more mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell from bio, where food is actually shoved into and used for making energy. So the more mitochondria we have, which are created through aerobic training, the more food we can eat, the more we can use that food, the more anabolic we become. So yes, Ali's saying cardio is anabolic. I'm sure that can get twisted and people will come at me. But I like that. I welcome the trolls on social media. We've become friends lately. So the way I set this up is if somebody comes to me with a very low level of aerobic fitness, they usually have a high resting heart rate, over 70, over 65, 70, higher blood pressure. Quickest way to lower blood pressure is aerobic fitness. Just heavy breathing in general while sitting is probably reflective of a need for cardio fitness. And all these other metrics can be fixed by getting somebody healthier. So the GPP phase is going to be very high volume aerobics, meaning up to 90 minutes a day if they have time for it, but the lower the intensity, the higher the volume. That's why it has to be so much. Then we combine that with 2 to 3 days of lifting with higher reps to get that same adaptation. Then we transition into more hypertrophy. And then we transition into what I would call like SPP phase or the peak phase where they're ready for testosterone. This is also something I have guys who are already on testosterone replacement going through just because they need this level of fitness. So this is kind of what this template looks like, and I'll explain it more in English, where I start a guy with very low carbs, high protein, moderate fat. What this does is it takes the glucose load off his mitochondria. That allows more fats to be shoved in there and oxidized. High protein keeps him full, satiated. We lower body fat. Dropping the carbs works. Also, that water drop initially we know is a great way to get somebody motivated. Then, as they get leaner, more towards 15% body fat, we start adding carbs. So it's kind of ass backwards from the fitness industry and what we've been taught, which is, oh, well, the leaner you got to get, the more cardio you have to do, and then the less carbs you have to eat. Where I do it backwards, I add all the cardio up front load it, drop the carbs, and then as they get leaner, keep adding carbs, because that's where the most insulin sensitivity comes from. The more muscle you have, the leaner you are, the more carbohydrates you can tolerate. Why would I take that away from a guy when he's in his prime and be able to fill his muscles with a ton of glycogen? So that's where all of this comes in, and the type of cardio we do, and then the metrics we kind of just monitor. And then obviously there's extremes. Necessarily want to go over it, but if you go extreme either direction, there's going to be consequences hormonally and metric wise and stuff like that. And we use a coaching app called Silverback Coaching. And I'm going to show you guys some case studies, some of our clients that I've taken through GPP for TRT. Specifically this kid who, as you can see, very high body fat on the left. His name's Cole. Great kid. Took him through very high reps, a lot of unilateral work, so split squats and rear foot elevated split squats and lunges, and then one arm stuffs, just to make him more symmetrical, because a lot of people are going to be dealing with asymmetries. But unilateral work sucks and it's very hard, so you'll actually get a really good aerobic adaptation from it. So dropped his carbs. We started him at 50 grams of carbs, and I believe that was starch or non-starchy vegetables. So he was eating non-starchy vegetables, very high protein, transitioned him into higher carbs. And then when we were doing hypertrophy and higher carb, he was upwards of 275 grams a day, and then started dropping weight. So I added him 3 refeed days, English, upwards of 500 grams of carbs, and he started to maintain his weight. And then on the end, we had him at refeed days of about 700 grams. And then he just competed in October, a few weeks ago, actually. And he came in at his lowest weight ever compared to the slide on the left. Completely changed his life. He is so much more confident. His mom messaged me. She's like so excited how confident he is. But we started him going through, he went through the low intensity cardio phase for a good 12 weeks, I would say. And getting the body fat off of him is so crucial. Then you could start playing with the carbohydrates and stuff like that. And he's like, I never thought I'd be eating this many carbs. Like, it's ridiculous. But it works, and it works very well. And it just comes down to monitoring, is his weight stable? Is he dropping weight? Does he look like he's getting fuller? Is he getting bigger? How are his clothes fitting? All of those things come into play. It's not just scale weight, because guys do freak out about the scale just as much as women. If you're in America, just switch your scale to kilos. That way you're not doing the math. And it's a good way to trick somebody if they just step on it and they're like, I don't know. So 2 years. Yeah. I forget that because that's important, because people think that'll happen in 6 weeks. But we are on, Thanksgiving will be year 3. Yeah, around Thanksgiving. That was about a month out from his competition. What's that? He's pretty low because he was so heavy. He actually had some stretch marks and stuff and loose skin. In his competition, like, we did a test peak week, he destroyed it. He does everything we say to a T. So right now he's maintained. He's up about 10 pounds just from enjoying food again after his competition and stuff. And he was like, I don't know what to do next. Do I compete again? What do I do? Do I do a photo shoot? But like, he cannot stop taking pictures of himself, which I told him never to stop. He's doing labs again in a couple weeks. So we didn't like strategically measure, but he's also 28 too. So he's pretty young. And he was suffering from like low T, low confidence, all that stuff. Our next guy, Mark, he's 63. So he came to us eating 1,700 calories, which is really quite common. Very low aerobic fitness because just didn't want to do cardio. So we had him start on a aerobic fitness endeavor, basically, for at least 90 days. He went through that. He went through hypertrophy phase. He loves doing all the advanced shit now, bands, chains, blood flow restrictions, stuff like that. But we have increased his calories significantly. And he's still increasing now, even at 63. He's on testosterone. Yeah, he's awesome. He's one of those dudes that's just like excited. Yeah, he does look like John. Yeah, a lot of people said that. And then this guy, Roger, this is all literally just getting him healthier. So not as dramatic of these changes, but when you add aerobic fitness and then you get people to actually start lifting, he went from, on the left, he was eating 1,900 calories. Now I have him upwards of 4,000. So these guys go through this. It's not a jump to 4,000, but it's strategically. You can get calories pretty fucking high. Chad is probably my poster boy. A lot of my clients come to me wanting to look just like Chad. He's a great dude also. So on the left, he was eating strict carnivore, 1,850 calories. That's like the man number. Women, 1,200 calories. Guys, 1,850. I don't know where the fuck that comes from, but like that's their number. It's always sub 2,000. So immediately I was like, all right, we've got to start making some changes because he wanted to get bigger and gain some size. So we added calories. That's what his bulk looked like in the middle. I was like, see, you still have abs. It's not sloppy. We're doing okay. And we got him to 2,700 for his first bulk. And then we did a cut in October. He looked pretty damn good. October. And tan, yep, he tans. He lives in New Hampshire. So he has a tanning bed in his house, which I wish I had. And then we took him through another bulk. He trusted me. We gained about 30 pounds over the course of 7 to 9 months. Cut again. I don't have updated pictures on here, but we put some size on him, and we've actually... Now his legs are a lot bigger because I literally hammered his legs 3 days a week for about 12 weeks this past fall. And so he's thinking of competing, but we want to take another year at least to build. Even though he could probably step on stage for men's physique, he wants to do classic. So we're going to get his legs a little bit higher. And then with testosterone replacement, so something that most people in this room are familiar with, but having this discussion with guys is really important because, again, there's like 9 zillion different delivery methods now, and everyone's going to tell you they have the best one. Of course, when I moved to South Florida, I saw all of these places. Literally, you could walk into them and they'll be like, what do you want? D-ball, Winstrol? I'll give it to you. So literally, you could take walk-ins in South Florida. It's actually kind of funny. It's like the Wild West. And these are most of the common concerns that our guys have. There's a lot of stigmas around testosterone. As you know that with women, if we go on HRT, that's normal, but guys go on it, God forbid, you're cheating, you're going to be on steroids, blah, blah, blah. Discussing a lot of the side effects, especially if there's testicular shrinkage. I'm very proud of myself. I made this meme all by myself. And what I tell guys all the time, they hear about this, and I'm like, not every man has their balls shrink. And everything else looks bigger. That's a plus. If we need help there, that's a really big plus. Like, literally, no pun intended. But I really don't see a lot of dating websites where women put on their profile, I'm a ball girl. I don't know. I never did. I'm just saying. And I do have clients that they take HCG and stuff to maintain that fullness. I tell them, like, we don't care. We really don't. So a lot of the heart attack studies that have come out now showing that it's not a problem, it's not scary. if guys are saying, you know, I want to convince my doctor, don't convince your doctor, find a competent one. Obviously, we know that you're not going to convince them. This is all preaching to the choir. If you guys know Dr. Jordan Grant, he talks on this a lot and how there is no causation from testosterone and prostate cancer. And he has men in his practice who are actively on testosterone with prostate cancer. He talks about that at a level that I won't. These are DEXA scans from a client who was on an anastrozole for way too long. Clearly, he's borderline osteoporosis, osteopenia. That's a problem. So a lot of the clinics who give anastrozole out as candy just because they think that guy's going to turn into a woman. Dave Lee in the back, he and I will be doing a fireside chat at 1 o'clock instead of me and Jordan to talk about estrogen in men and how it's misunderstood. So if you guys are around for that, we'll be discussing that. And then these are all like labs that you guys have seen where it's like, all right, 213 testosterone, a guy gets sent home, you know, he's normal. But labs like this, like, oh my God, you're going to die. You're going to die. You need to go donate blood 14 times a month. Like, you're going to have to take anastrozole 5 milligrams every week, all this stuff. So these are labs where guys feel amazing. But of course, it's the red marker, like in middle school, where you got anything bad from the teacher. It just gives you that, like I'm doing something wrong. And they see the red and they freak out. But, you know, labs where any testosterone's like over 1,500. How many times have you heard like, oh, my doctor says I have to lower it? Why? It's too high. Why? Because the piece of paper says so. That's great, but doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do that. I personally work with Merrick Health. If you guys are familiar with them, they're a telehealth company that are amazing. They actually put their ranges in optimal ranges for blood work. So I have a panel. The clickers always die on me. So I have a Silverback panel that has a lot more of the markers that usually you'll get if you go to a GP that are pretty in-depth and comprehensive. And they put those ranges, like I said, in more optimal ranges. And because of all of this, I've created an event called the Silverback Summit. This is the second year I'm doing it in Austin, Texas, actually next week. We sold out 7 weeks ago, so otherwise I'd say, you guys can come, but my event planner will yell at me because we already put all in our numbers. But I wanted to create a place where guys felt that they could go and understand this stuff at a deeper level and a place they feel understood. Because there's tons of women's health courses and clinics and seminars and all this stuff, but there was nothing for the guys. So this was created for the dudes. If you guys want to come next year, hop on the interest list. You can go to silverbacksummit.com if you want to look more into that. You probably know a lot of the people speaking. If you want to find me, slide in my DMs on IG. I answer all my own messages. I have tons of discussions there. That's where I do all my content pretty much. I've had digital courses. I've had virtual summits that we've done. So if you wanted to access some of the talks regarding the topics I discussed today, a lot of my speakers are on there as well, Dave Lee being one of them in the back. And I think that's it. So email me, but honestly, just message me on IG is probably where you'll find me. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.
We've barely scratched the surface today. For more insight into hormonal health, why not explore our channel? We've got a wealth of content awaiting your attention, and you can also visit our website at balancemyhormones.co.uk. So, this is Mike from Balance My Hormones, your beacon in the fascinating world of hormonal health. And until next time, remember, knowledge is power, and your journey to wellness starts here with Balance My Hormones.